Oh, we are back. We are back. March Madness is, I mean, it's like a little subtle madness. I wouldn't say it's as crazy as it has been in years past. That's probably the biggest conversation moving with it. But we have some games going on right now. St. John's in Kansas. St. John's is coming out of the halftime with the lead. Tennessee, who they murdered that Miami of Ohio team. They did that. They're playing the Virginia Cavaliers. Tennessee is up 28-20 with 6 minutes left in the first half. St. John's is leading Kansas 34-26. That's an all-time uh, head coach Hall of Fame game. I think it's like the fourth time two coaches who have won two plus national titles have met in the tournament or something like that. They were showing that, which is pretty crazy with Rick Pitino and Bill Self. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, it's been a lot of fun. We also have baseball. We'll talk about that. Starts this week, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, we'll start with the tournament so far. The highest ranked seed to move on was High Point, who was a 12 seed, beat Wisconsin. Had a hell of a game last night against Arkansas. Only four double digit seeds won a first round game, and Texas is the only double digit seed at the 11 seed to move into the Sweet 16. But yet again, it is the University of Texas. So not your traditional Cinderella, but I think that's just kind of the way that this tournament may be viewed. You may get an upset here or there, but I don't know if we're going to have the sustained run like we've seen in years past. And usually we see those runs. We like it to about the Sweet 16, and we want those little teams to go away anyways. It's usually how it works. So everybody's getting what they want. Some of the there's been a lot of interesting things when you look at the tournament. My two biggest things is Duke has struggled, but they kind of figured it out in the second half. And I don't know how this happened, but all of a sudden it feels like Michigan's underrated coming into this tournament. And the way that they've talked about them, they're all shocked that they've dominated the first two games. And I'm like, did you not watch them all season long?
That's happens. You lose in the conference tournament and you lose to the overall top seed in the tournament. And I think that's not a fair reason of why people are looking at Michigan that way, but I think that really skewed a lot of perception. Michigan lost to a good Purdue team. Now, Purdue, I don't have faith in, even though they're playing really well, right? But it's like you lost your conference tournament. And the other game that a lot of people tuned into, that Duke game, it was ugly. It was back and forth. And that was, in my mind, a 50-50 game. But Duke won that game. So I think that's giving Duke a lot of credit where they have not looked as good these first two rounds. They're getting a little bit more healthy with Ngagwe back. That's huge. And I think that will really help sustain. And there looks like they're starting to figure out the tournament a little bit. But in return, this Michigan team's been good. I don't think that's a shocker. St. Louis gave them a game for about a half, which I was somewhat surprised by, but also St. Louis is a really good team. But yeah, it just, I think they didn't end the season as strong as people expected them to, but we're also forgetting about the November, December blowouts that came through. And then that Big Ten schedule, and I think the Sweet 16 showing this, Big Ten was really good this year. And it's proved that Illinois is here, Nebraska's here, obviously Michigan's here, Michigan State's in the last 16 around. That proves that this was a solid conference. And I think last year the SEC was this way, where the SEC had a lot of really good upper tier teams, and the Sweet 16 showed it. This year, the Big Ten's doing that, and we saw this through even Wisconsin with the losing to High Point. Wisconsin was a really good team. Purdue's here, right? So it's just easy to overthink these types of things. It's like Michigan's played in one of the best conferences all year. They dominated through and throughout, won the regular season, but because they lost to what is the number one seed in the tournament in a neutral site game, and then they lost in their conference tournament in the championship game too, by the way. It wasn't like go early exit. Oh, maybe they're gettable, maybe they're beatable, and they still could be. They have an Iowa State team in front of them here soon. If Iowa State gets through, that could do some damage. I forget who their four seed game is off the top of my head. If they have that ready yet, but either way, like Michigan's still really good. They just lost two games towards the end of the year, and that's when a lot of people are really clued into the sport.
Yeah, and one of my favorite games, it was just a really strange and weird game, was the Duke Siena game. Um, I mean, obviously, anytime a 16 seed is just right behind a one seed, is very interesting, and at times leading that one seed. But if you watch the game or at least heard about it, you'd know that Siena played six players, and that sixth guy didn't come in until like a minute and a half left in the game. I thought that was a really gutsy strategy by Sienna's coach. Obviously, it didn't, go the way he wanted it to, but I thought that was very interesting to be like, hey, these are my 5 dudes. You're gonna have to deal with them for 40 minutes, and I don't know how I feel about that because at the end of the game, I don't know about anything about Sienna. They could have whatever, but those dudes were balling for like 35 minutes and then just looked dog tired by the end of the game. And you're running against one of the best teams in the country. That was super impressive. I think they only lost by like 6 or something like that. That was a really fun game to watch. And then I had special interest in the Howard, Michigan game. So I go over to my girlfriend's house, okay, and her dad asked me. He said, "Hey, he doesn't have older gentleman. He doesn't want to have to do the whole betting app thing. So he goes, hey, well, I have some money. I said, Kenny's just gonna send to you. We just throw on a bet for me. I don't think Howard's gonna lose by 30. And I was like, yeah, of course. And then so girlfriend sends me the money, $100, and I was like, oh, okay, $100 on this, huh? So we're talking about it before the game starts, and I tell him like, hey, the payout's like $192, and he was like, for $25. So he wanted to put $25 on Howard not losing by 30. I put $100 on Howard not losing by 30. So that was the most interesting 20-point blowout I've ever watched in my life. And luckily, they did not lose by 30. So the man got his money. But that was also a very interesting game because at the beginning of the second half, Howard was only down by 2 points against Michigan. And then Michigan looked very dominant. I mean, against, a 16 seed, but very dominant. Once Mara got going, holy cow, that dude is terrifying. The way that and they talked about this a few times in a couple different games, the way that these big men can pass the ball is unreal. And it's like Amara attracts so much attention when he's down low, and his ability to dish the ball off to any of the other, forwards that are really good at finishing up close. It's just awesome. And then Michigan just heaving the ball down court to like Mara, whoever's down there. It's like a football pass as soon as they get the rebound. So it's been fun. It like you said at first, it's been kind of chalky, but I think the games have been interesting and good. The VCU North Carolina game was great. The Vanderbilt game last night was insane. That was the one, right, where he almost made the half court shot with that Vanderbilt. Yeah. So that was an insane game. Like, yes, it's been chalky, but I think different from last year, these games are interesting and good. And last year there were just kind of a lot of 10-point wins, 12-point wins. It's like okay, but these games have been kind of close, and that's really interesting. And both the teams I picked to be in the national championship are still playing, so we'll see.
Well, yeah, that's things. How are the brackets looking for everybody? How are you guys feeling about your
So
bracket?
I went in our league. I went from 2nd to 9th in like a blink of an eye. I don't know exactly what game did that to me, but I have St. John's and Iowa State in the final. So going good.
I have Duke, Arizona. My big screw up in my bracket is I put Akron into the Sweet 16. I thought they'd take care of Texas Tech and Alabama. I picked the Alabama game right, so that was my big one. My final 4 is, let me look through here. It doesn't even actually kind of show it. It's kind of a pain. I think Duke, UConn, Arizona, Purdue? No, that doesn't make sense. No, was it Duke, Houston, Arizona, ISU, Iowa State. So I put Iowa State over Michigan. And that's also, I think, something that's guarding this buzz of this like Michigan underrated, overrated is they do have a second. Like this gets real tough for them real quick. Because they either get Texas Tech or Alabama. They're going to want Texas Tech. Bama's a really streaky and weird team. And they have a lot of bad juju going around. We know the vibes around there. But they shoot the hell out of the three. So there's one of the few teams that if they're hitting their shots, I think you keep up with Michigan's offense, even if they're not sized properly to do so. And then you go into an Iowa State team, which is now a more favorable matchup. They're missing one of their best scorers who got hurt in their first round game. But even then, they took care of Kentucky, and that didn't look like much after a weird first half and went from there. It's weird because, to both of you guys' points, we have been a little bit more chalky. One thing that really does play into this is that the last couple of years, the selection committee has been using predictive metrics in their selection process. So you're not getting as many teams, at least in my mind, that are truly underseeded or teams that kind of sneak around. And it's like, yeah, it should have been a 12 seed. If really anything, I think the 8-9 line has been the spot where you've seen that kind of over under seeding, but that's an 8-9 game. That's a toss up in its own way, right? TCU won in the 8-9. Utah State beat Villanova in the 8-9, but it's not been like these. Yeah, again, we're also one Santa Clara timeout away from a 7-10 upset here, right? So there have been some close games, but those predictive metrics, one, I do think really have changed the way you can get these teams hiding in the bracket that feel really good to move really far in advance. And then, as much as I know it feels like a broken record, NIL does matter here, right? And the sport has figured out NIL, and I do think in both a bad way and a good way. It's hurt some of the upsets for sure, right? When you have some of these rosters that have so much talent and combined talent that you may not have a guy slip away because maybe you could sit on the Houston bench and make the same as much as going to Santa Clara. Well, okay, maybe I'll stick around to Houston now, right? And stuff like that. And freshmen move real a lot. Like, you think the college football portal is crazy. The college basketball portal is weird. It is nuts. It's all over the place. But in return, look how many draft prospects we have here in our graphic, right? Like, you have Acuff in here. You have Cam Boozer, right? You have so many other different guys. You can go down the list. DeBonta didn't even win here. He's a draft prospect, right? And I think that's also made this tournament better because you got a lot of talent on the floor that you're going to see on draft night. And we haven't had that in a couple years. We've had these guys go to the overtime league or go to the G League for their year and stuff like that. So, yeah, you may not be getting as much upsets, but, man, we have gotten some fantastic games. And you have talent that you're going to see get drafted and be in the NBA. And that's something that's been kind of missing the last couple of years. So, in this sense, it's fun because you're watching the tournament and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to see that guy play in the NBA. I might see the guy in the playoffs next year, right? Depending on where he goes or not. And we're talking about guys in this tournament. It's like, oh, this could affect their draft stock. We haven't had that conversation as much. So take the goods with the bads. We've had some really fun games. And honestly, the games we have watching out here, like on right now, can still be very good. St. John's, Kansas, tremendous game, coaching battle. Tennessee, Virginia, two big brands, and it's not the Virginia you remember. That slow, painful basketball. So, no, this has been a very good tournament, very fun tournament early, and it's had just the right amount of chaos, I think, for a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I think it does help when you have the games close, to Trevor's point. It's like, there were a lot of, like, the TCU Ohio State game is the first game that started off, and that game was crazy to begin with.
Yeah.
So when you have that, and then the VCU North Carolina game, I turned it off because I thought it was over.
Yep.
I was like, oh, this is over. I'll go on to the next game. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, VCU comes back. And now it's like Hubert Davis is like, they may fire him at North Carolina. I mean, so you have that. I mean, the Kentucky thing is interesting to me just because they did get rid of Cal, and he's now in the Sweet 16 with Arkansas and has Darius Acuff, who is, I don't know, I didn't watch Allen Iverson when I was younger, of course, because I wasn't born yet, but he feels like that type of guy. He just is a scorer. I think he had like 30-something last night. If they didn't have him in that high point game, they did not win that game. So, I think that to me is like the biggest storyline is like, okay, you have this guy, and it just got to a point where they did need to break up and he needed to go somewhere else. It wasn't that he was a bad coach, it just happened. But now it's funny to see like Kentucky not being able to kind of get those guys that you're used to them getting. And Cal gets him in Arkansas, and he moves to the Sweet 16, and they lose today. And not only did they lose today, they got embarrassed in the second half. And supposedly the rumor is they spent $22 million on their roster. I have no idea if that's true. And they also paid $2 million from some Arizona State transfer that only scored like 20 points all year. So it's just those like little storylines of how, the Siena coach, McNamara, who's, a Syracuse legend, won a national title. He got basically hired at Syracuse, I think, because of that game against Duke. So it's also, the players up and down, rising, lowering draft stock, but it's also the coaches too. It's like, at some of these schools, it's like, just getting to the tournament or just winning a game anymore, it's not a thing. Pope is in his, second year at Kentucky, and there's probably like, we got rid of Cal for this guy.
No, and the Pope situation's interesting because in my mind, it's turning into what the Alabama situation in football looks like post-Saban. And I don't think Calipari got the same credit Saban did, partially because Saban's accomplishments were even crazier. But it's still a hard job to follow up. You have all the resources at Kentucky. You have a history at Kentucky, right? Same way Saban has history and Alabama football has history before Saban, right? But you are following up one of the best coaches in this sport, one of the best coaches in this game. Arkansas still pays money. Don't worry. Acup's not playing there for free. He might be on a little discount because it's John Calipari, but it's not like he's going there just for the love of the game and the love of the state of Arkansas, right? And the team around him is still really good, right? They've been really solid all year. But you are following up one of the best guys to ever do it to this degree. And mind you, Darius Acuff, he's dropping 30 points in all playoff games. Since the SEC tournament, he's averaging around 30. They may gave up 32, which is the craziest part. That team plays no defense back and forth. But like, this is where the NIL world has been so fascinating, right? Is I know North Carolina's roster wasn't cheap either. They're on the first round. Hubert Davis is getting these talks, right? You have some of your blue bloods standing here, and they don't look the same either. There's impacts that are going not just to the lower level of the sport where you may not have these upsets, but some of your biggest brands that are still spending money, they're not cheaping out, are not playing successful as well. I mean, a storyline we have not gotten into it because I know the roster isn't free, but no basketball powerhouse Nebraska's in the Sweet 16. You know, last time that ever happened? Never. Like, so you have these things changing in front of us. I mean, Vanderbilt, you know, is going back and forth in that game, which I know we talked about being fantastic, the back and forth, the half court shot that reminds you of Gordon Hayward almost doing it to Duke in the championship game. I mean, these are two programs that have historically not been that much of a basketball school that are dueling it out back and forth. Florida has had their moment with Billy Donovan, but it's not like you have a deep basketball tradition there. They're on number one overall seed right now. So that money is playing into multiple facets of the sport. Some programs are still doing really well, even with the NIL world. Look at Houston, right? Number 2 seed, took care of business, beat on the Texas Tech team. They're not Texas Tech, Texas A&M team. That was pretty solid. But then you have other programs that are struggling to figure it out because there is a little bit of an evening out, now flattening out. Do I think Kentucky's going to be fine long-term if it's the Pope or not? I think they'll be okay. They're going to figure it out. But like, it's a really hard guy to replace in John Calipari. My favorite thing about it is now all the Calipari disciples that are NBA guys, those NBA guards are like, I'm kind of rooting for Arkansas, you know, like they were Cal guys, and we're starting to see that. And this kind of adds on to his legacy. It reminds you that there's Walmart money in Arkansas. You could do some things there. This is honestly like while they're doing so well in basketball and other sports, this is what they want in football, baby. Because they have this same money that could go into these teams. And it's almost frustrating in that sense, too. You want to talk about a fun storyline. Arkansas basketball is fantastic. The football team's terrible. The money is being spent more in football than basketball. Like and it's obvious for all these sports, but it's like the discrepancy is so egregious. It is impressive at times.
Yeah, and I just before we or whatever, that High Point team, dude. Oh my gosh, they were unbelievable. That dude who shoots from like Steph Curry range, his stat line being that he was like 0 from 4 from 2 and like 80 for like 140 from 3 was just I loved it so much.
Very white boy name, Chase Johnston.
That's the whitest name I've ever heard in my life.
And had a 2-pointer to win against Wisconsin.
Exactly. And he hit a 2 to win the game. Like that High Point team, I was rooting for them against Arkansas. I really like them. And then I think he kind of took away a little bit of the shine too in the first game. I think their game against Arkansas really showed how just well-rounded that entire team is because his shots were just insane. But I think last night's game was just a better view of this team is really good. I love that team. I was really cheering for them. They almost gave like Loyola vibes a little bit. I was like, please get far into this tournament. But for all the reasons that Jerry said, that didn't happen. I mean, like, there's big spenders. They got the Walmart money in Arkansas. Like, I think we said we talked about this last year, but with the NIL and all this stuff happening, the tournaments are just going to be kind of chalky. And with the predictive, well, I actually do have a question with the predictive. What was it called?
Predictive measurements, or predictive like stats.
Do you guys think that's like good for the tournament? Or I mean, would you rather not see it in the tournament? What do you guys think?
It's hard for me with the basketball selection committee to have a lot of problems in the first place. Like, yeah, does it take away? Like, you're making it less human, sure, but like every year we complain about something with selection committees about who gets left in, who gets left out. Right? This year's Miami of Ohio, Auburn, this and that. But when it comes to March Madness, there's 68 teams here, right? If you can't make the field of 68, you had plenty of opportunities to do so, right? So them adding these may have killed off some of these upsets, but it's also led to still good basketball. I don't think the basketball quality's gotten worse, and there's some things they can't control, right? We've talked about NIL and these better rosters and stuff like that. Doesn't matter what stats you throw in there. If you have a team, like I think Michigan's point guard Cadeau said this tongue in cheek or maybe seriously, he's like, yeah, St. Louis hasn't seen 3 guys that are going to be NBA All-Stars. Somewhat braggadocious, but also somewhat true, right?
Yeah.
If you have this level of talent, St. Louis had one of the best seasons in the mid-majors, kicked an SEC teams, what, in front of everybody in Georgia, and still ran into a juggernaut in Michigan. And that was and that was also another 9-8 game. But there's only so much you can do. And St. Louis has invested that money. They're putting a lot of money into their head coach, Josh Schertz. They signed him a 6-year deal, $20 million. That's a lot for a mid-major program. I know they put some money into that roster, et cetera. That doesn't guarantee that if you just run into a good team, you run into a good team. It doesn't matter if SLU is an 8th seed, right? Right? If we flop that seeding, they still run into a Michigan, or they run into maybe an Iowa State that's playing really well. So that's also, I think, the hard part about upsets sometimes is we forget that it's hard to do. Even when the upsets were more prevalent or felt so, right? Them winning those games was an anomaly. It was a fluke. It was not supposed to happen, at least by seeding terms and ideas, right? And I think another thing that plays into this is that a lot of those upsets, you had teams that could really slow the ball down, and they would win those games by just being up 6, or they played a team that was really slow. Think of Virginia, UMBC upset all those years ago. Virginia would just trot up the ball, send all 30 seconds on the clock, and get a shot. Well, if you're down 2 or up 2, and you wasted 30 seconds, and the other guy shoots a 3, now you're down 1, and you're blowing another 30. You limit possessions. Now you need high-speed teams. High Point was a prime example of this. Teams like Northern Iowa that like to hold on and control the ball just got ran out of the gym by St. John's, right? And I think that matters as well too. Style clashes are a way you can get those upsets, and it might not just be talent, but if you run into the right team at the right time, Wisconsin like to run with High Point. High Point's fast. That works, right? But you have a Northern Iowa and St. John's. I like that example a lot. That's a fast team and a slow team. Fast team got a lead. Slow team couldn't keep up. I am curious about how Texas will impact this sport long term, or seeding long term, because they are that 11 seed. They are a Cinderella, but it does not feel like a Cinderella, right? And they were not fantastic this year. They were good. They were tournament good, as we're seeing, but it wasn't this isn't the fairy tale story that we long for here. But they're an 11 seed that played into this tournament, now beat a 6 seed with a top 5 draft prospect, and turn around and beat a solid Gonzaga team. Now it's Gonzaga. They like choking the tournament, but that's what I'm curious about, because that helps the arguments of the Bruce Pearls of the world more than it helps the Miami of Ohio's. So that's a storyline I'm continuing to monitor, especially if they beat Purdue. I think that will make this conversation very interesting. And yes, you can do the SEC Big Ten stuff, but I'm going to be talking about Miami of Ohio went up against an SEC school after beating SMU and then look up to snuff. And now Texas snuck in as a solid SEC team but could have been out of it, right? Last 4 in. Now they're in the Sweet 16. It's going to make the Bruce Pearls of the world even louder. And I think that will take away from the sport more than maybe those predictive metrics. Man,
yeah,
a lot. Damn.
To Trevor's point, no, I think if you get it right, that's all I care about. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we like the Cinderellas or the lower seeds to move on, but when we get to a certain point, we want the big dogs. We want the best teams that we've seen all year consistently in the Elite Eight, in the Final Four. Like, we want that. To the Texas point, sometimes it just takes a reset of getting in. Sean Miller, who's a really good coach, kind of probably undervalued when it comes to coaching, just based off of how it kind of ended at Arizona. He gets to Texas. He's been there before. He's made long runs. You get the right guys. You get hot. Their big men versus Gonzaga's big men. It was just it was like a boxing match. They were literally killing each other every time they get the ball inside. But yeah, I think if they get it right, I don't really care based off how they do it. And I think so far they've gotten it right. The games have been close. The games have been good. And yeah, it is interesting, Jerry, that you bring up the pace thing, because it was always you wanted to be the slow team to go up against, a high speed team, because then you could slow it down and control the pace, and that was historically how we viewed it. Now it's very much flipped. If you have a guard or 2 guards that can get out and run, you're going to be better off, because I think you can catch some teams off guard. So it has been very interesting. I'm gonna get some comments, and I have some questions for you guys about the tournament so far moving forward. Johnson says Trevor the
The
hair.
guy rocked a man bun for
Very
years.
true. I was gonna say that, Trevor. I was going to say that myself. He has no room to talk about people's hair. No room at all. Nolan says,
Good.
boys. He says Trevor digging the grease.
Thank you. No, see, these are the comments that I like to see.
Johnson says while he's on Siena, their head coach is going to Syracuse. Yes, we know that. Not everyone can be the best feeling. He's saying this because he right now is tied first, but he also has Virginia beating Tennessee and they're down at halftime. And he says Jerry's pictures are crooked. I mean, does it really matter?
I can go off mute, that would help, but it tells you how much people pay attention to us.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's trying to pick some fights. All right, so I have a couple things. Are you guys worried about Duke moving forward here?
I've been worried since Foster went out because that guard play does matter in this tournament still. There is more big man play we've seen throughout this tournament that I think matters and more than years past. So getting back their center Ngakwa is a big deal. So I think that does help, and them thrashing on the second half TCU makes it less worrisome. But I'm watching. I think the winner of St. John's, Kansas, goes next to them. Any team they're going to face at this point is going to be good. So on a scale of 1 to 10, right in the middle at 5. I think that guard play can kill them, but getting back their big man also does quell a lot of this.
Yeah, I would say that. Am I worried about them? I would be worried about maybe any of the teams in their position because they do have a real challenge moving forward. Like Jerry said, they're all going to be good teams. But I think St. John's and Kansas are two notable teams that are, some of the better teams left that aren't a number 1 seed. And so I like them if they can get it, rolling, if they can get it together. They've had some, close games. If they can remain consistent and don't have that kind of slow start to their games, I think they'll be fine. Once they get going, they're a very good basketball team, a la Michigan when they can get it going. Those two teams feels very similar to me that when they are hot, everyone's clicking, everyone's moving together. They look unbeatable. But I think Duke notably has had a harder time getting going. Think of Siena when they're down by 12 at half, or thinking about that close game. I can't remember who they just played, but moving forward, or TCU, right? And then TCU, yeah. So they have to get going, and they have to get going from the jump. If they can do that, this is a very good team. I have St. John's in the final just because I wanted to be contrarian, which is a very real possibility. I like St. John's. I mean, I think they have a rough schedule, rough look moving forward, but not a huge concerns. If they can stay consistent, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, for me with Duke, because I would have been more concerned if Caden Boozer wouldn't have basically won that Siena game for them.
Yeah.
The other Boozer kid, nobody really thinks about him. He was the reason they won that Siena game. And so to Jerry's point with the guard play, I was like, okay. And then I saw him play, and I'm like, all right, cool. The thing was too against TCU, and this will be interesting moving forward, is I think they said Duke's like one of the top 5 longest teams in college basketball. Yep. And then TCU played a very short lineup, so that kind of did favor them in the matchup. So it'll be interesting moving forward. All right. Jerry brought up Nebraska. How far can Nebraska go?
I did have tons of faith. I thought Vandy was going to beat them, and I was one bounce away from being right. But I don't know if they're going to go any further. I don't know where the next round game is. But the one thing I like about Nebraska, no matter what, is that this is a fan base that's been waiting for a lot of fun. And honestly, I think they lose. I don't remember who they have in the next round here. I'm trying to do the math.
It's the winner of Florida, Iowa.
That matchup sucks regardless because Iowa and Nebraska is a real-time rivalry. It's not as historic as many think, but there's some hatred there. So I don't love that just because that can get real chippy real fast. And Florida is also very, very good. And Florida can just beat up with them because they're tall. But this Nebraska team, the one thing I've appreciated about it is the fact that they're not that far when they were in Oklahoma City from Nebraska. This is about a 6-hour drive. We're all Midwesterners here. That's doable. You could be there. Yeah. And they have shown out, even with Missouri losing in St. Louis to Miami. The one thing I hope we take away from this tournament, if I'm the selection committee, dude, give teams and fan bases a chance to be there. Man, have we had some great environments. I mean, when Nebraska took a lead in that game. And mind you, again, this is in Oklahoma City. Right at the end when the guy hits the layup, the main camera starts shaking. That's awesome. And this is not a game being played in Lincoln and all this. This is in a professional arena that hosted the NBA Finals, and you got the camera shaking in there. That's what's cool. There's a good vibe to it, but and I think they have a better chance, obviously, against Iowa. Florida scares me, so this might be the end of the road. But man, what a fun road it's been. Fred Hoiberg's been a fantastic coach. Of course, another Chicago Bulls head coach having success post Chicago.
I think I agree with Jerry that this is probably the end of the line for them. Florida's very good, and if they, I mean, huge if they make it through, which I mean, if they make it through Florida, they're in the Elite Eight. Congratulations. You know what I mean? But even if they do make it through Florida, they have to play the winner of Houston and Illinois. Two, I would
That's going
say
to be a great game.
that's going to be an awesome game. And oh my God, who I feel bad even for Florida. I feel bad for who has to play the winner of that because the one thing that I really, I think Houston is 2 and Illinois is 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So these are two teams that are relatively similar, at least according to seeding. And then even if Florida, plays this Iowa team, beats them by 30, what did you really get from that? Whereas Houston and Illinois have almost like a final game where it's like these two teams, if on opposite sides of the brackets, could have very likely met in the final, in the national championship. So they get to have that huge test now. There could be, this is going to be an intense game. So injuries are always a thing, all that stuff. But they're going to be battle tested. And when they get to whoever wins the, Florida, Nebraska game, let's say, that's going to be a very difficult game. So I'm even a little nervous for Florida in that game. But yeah, I think this is about as far as Nebraska's going to get. If Iowa wins, I think maybe Nebraska has a chance to play Illinois or Houston, but I think this is probably the end of the road for them. But like Jerry said, fantastic season. Nothing to be upset about.
Yeah, the thing with that Houston Illinois game is that game's in Houston.
I think the Elite Eight would be 2, correct?
Yeah, the regional final is in Houston. So I don't know how they were the 2 seed and ended up getting that, which works for them. But that will be very interesting for Illinois. Is you're basically playing an away game at Houston.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if Arizona moves past Utah State, do you trust them to go any farther? We know we talk about Arizona. I think, Jerry, you have them winning it all.
I do.
Do you trust them with the mighty Arkansas Razorbacks?
No, my answer is in my bracket, so I have to go yes and defend this. The hard part about Arizona is you can go by like the west of Texas thing where it's like, no one past the West of Texas last probably 40 years have won a national title. Arizona's been so consistent, and that's what I find it hard to do here. Is that no matter who they've played, what they've played, they have been it's so hard to beat them because they just keep doing this game in, game out. And the thing is, they're doing it in a very contrarian way, right? Koa Pete is a classic big man. He's not extending for tons of threes. He's going to beat you in the paint and beat up on you physically. This team is rallied around him. So my answer is yes. Arizona has also just been perfectly quiet, right? They took care of Long Island. I have them highly here against Utah State. I think that matchup does not favor them. The question I have about Arkansas, because I think Arkansas has the offense to do it, but I don't think they have the defense to. They're a really athletic team. Guys like Javon Brazil and, you talked about Acuff, they can move around the floor. They feel like Duke in that length. Like I know Duke's one of the top 5 lengthiest teams. Arkansas gives the same vibes. But man, they do not play a lick of D. And I do worry that if this game gets the thing with Arizona is they're kind of the old school. If you slow the game down a little bit, can you win these games? And they've been so good at doing it that I do find it a little bit challenging to put anybody past them. But it's Arizona. I get the concern. I get all this, but they have been a tough team to beat no matter where, no matter when, no matter what. So I'm riding with Zona.
Yeah, I came into the tournament liking Arizona. I basically have them losing in the Final Four to Iowa State because the reason is March Madness. If on paper, I think they have a clean shot to the national championship, but I had them losing to Iowa State because of weird March Madness things happening. So if we just go on paper, do I trust them? Absolutely, they'll probably be in the national championship. but March Madness things could happen. I think they'll get through Arkansas, and of course Utah State. So I think this is a very good team and one that has a very good chance of winning the national championship. But I think their biggest contest will be kind of against Iowa State. I'm very excited for that game and interested to see how that goes because I really like Iowa State. I obviously have them winning the national championship. So
Jonathan says St. John's going to beat Duke. Book it. St. John's has to get past Kansas, which currently they have the lead right now.
Up 13 in that game, 58-45, just around 7 minutes left. Keep an eye on that.
All right, last question when it comes to March Madness before we move on to baseball. If or when everybody fills out the second chance Sweet 16, is anybody going to change their Final Four picks that they had?
Is this a thing? I saw it on.
Yeah,
ESPN.
a lot. I think it's like
does this?
I think it's been like a thing that people try to stay perfect or try to get perfect with a Sweet 16. And it's never happened either. So people fill out a second chance. So, Jerry, if you were to fill out a second chance, it feels like you're not that man. You stick with your first bracket.
You stick with your picks. But, I would probably also stay with Arizona, but also we are going to get a great test of that, right? The Utah State team, one of the few teams I thought was underseeded. I thought they were more of a 7. As we kind of looked at all the metrics and fun stuff. Yeah, I did look at numbers. I bored. Bear with me. But like that was one of the few teams that's a good test, but one that I see Arizona going through. But again, look at this right now. We talked about this. It's a lot of chalk still, right? Like there's a lot of still really good brackets. I mean, we were talking about groups here and like the group we're in, and we've kept eyes on that and stuff like that. But like, dude, I throw in some fun upsets for fun, and I've gotten like 80% of the picks right.
Yeah.
And I threw Akron to the Sweet 16 because I'm like, why not? Let's have some fun here. I threw Northern Iowa to beat St. John's. That's for fun. But since it's been so chalky, I mean, you can kind of ride with whoever. You have all your reasons. And I think that's kind of been the fun of this tournament too, is like, yeah, you haven't had these moments where it's like these teams aren't playing like these teams. The only one's probably Duke. And then you look at that second half of the TCU game, and then you can see why a lot of folks are high on them. And it's like, well, I get it, right? Like, but I do with chalky tournaments means that those later rounds get better and better and better. And we're leaning that way. We're gearing that direction. So, when I change my pick, no, but it's because I'm going to keep the same vibes I had coming in. And you have the same matchups that if you're looking at your bracket, unless you're just going for pure chaos, which I respect, I deeply do. If you like a team for a certain reason against certain opponents, that's kind of why you run with it, don't you? And that's kind of my same way about Arizona. Like, there's a world if you beat Arkansas, you can run to Purdue. I love them against Purdue. Purdue deep in the tournament historically struggled. Give me a team that that might be there, or you have a Texas team. Like that's the other option if they get past Utah State and Arkansas. Like that was part of the reason I haven't gone so far. So I'll keep riding with Arizona, and I'll regret it next week.
I'm looking at my bracket. One of the things that I did do was I put St. John's over Duke, which I don't know. I don't think I would change that. I have them in the final. Like I said, Duke has taken some time to get going. Who did St. John's beat by like they lost by like 30 and then beat someone by like 30? What was
That's UConn.
UConn. So yeah. St. John's is a good team. I think if after the 2 slow starts with Duke for Duke, this could be really a challenge for them because St. John's is a very good basketball team, very well coached, obviously. No, I think I would leave them just how I have them. Mine is pretty chalky, minus the St. John's Duke thing. Other than that, it's pretty chalk. So I like my picks. I'm very excited for that Duke St. John's game. That would be the only one that's not I have an upset in really. So I'm excited for that. No, I don't think I would change them.
Yeah, I don't think I'd change mine either. Duke, Houston, Arizona, Michigan, Duke, Michigan, and then Duke winning it all. I mean, this is going to be the year Houston wins because I do not pick them to win it. I've picked Houston like the last 3 or 4 years just because of their guard play, which has been really, really good. But yeah, that Texas A&M game, it was like an 8-point game, and then all of a sudden it was a 20-point game right before halftime. Like they just flipped the script. So Houston, Illinois, I think is going to be an all-timer. And usually when we think it's going to be an all-timer, it's going to be a stinker. But I think it'll be very fun. All right, so there are 2 perfect brackets remaining out of 26.6 million. One of them is going to fall today. There will only be one remaining perfect bracket after today. This is actually weird how this is going to work. So both of them had Iowa State beating Kentucky. One has Kansas winning, one has St. John's winning, one has UCLA winning, and one has UConn winning. So we could have no perfect brackets by the end of the day.
Dude, you want to talk about a game I am both looking forward to for entertainment value, but also I'm not looking forward to for I'm not like really pro ref out here, but golly, the referees on the sideline of a Mick Cronin, Dan Hurley game.
That's why I put them up there both screaming in the graphic.
Oh my god. I like oh no. We might get like the first like double tech on both coaches at the same time. Like that just feels you want to talk about two grumpy balding white guys on the sideline. That is oh man. I do think UConn takes advantage of that game. That UConn's have been a weird team. UCLA has been the sneaky pick. If you really want to get weird, you're like, oh man, maybe UConn is UCLA to Sweet 16. I don't really feel it. Yeah, UCLA has been terrible away from home. They're not home. Obviously, we're in the tournament here against a UConn team that did not end the year well with their the Big East championship. I think that kind of helps. I've always kind of been an advocate to some degree that if you lose, you don't want to lose too much late, but taking a loss later in the season is not always a bad thing. It can be a reminder, especially for these really elite teams. Like Michigan losing to Duke, I think helped Michigan more than it hurt them. Because it's like, oh yeah, we're beatable. You know, when you're running you're running on people and you're up 20-30, it's a good reminder that you're still, you know, a college basketball team and you have other elite teams in this tournament. So, you know, I do think that UConn loss to St. John may help them more than hurt them with that logic applied.
Yeah, and that game is 8:45 tonight on TNT. You know,
7:45 God's time.
Yeah, 7:45 your guys' time over there in the Central. But yeah, the perfect bracket thing's very interesting because one for sure is going to be broken after the St. John's Kansas game, and both of them could be done after today as well. So it's going to be a very the guy who has Kansas winning has UCLA winning, and the guy or the person who has St. John's winning has UConn winning. So this thing could be blown up by the end of the day. When you look at
loss is a win for me.
So it'll be very interesting moving forward. All right, baseball is starting up. I know we had the WBC. I didn't want to talk about it because the U.S. lost. Whatever. As Luke Hoxie said, that's why I didn't get excited for exhibition preseason baseball after we lost. But no, so MLB opening day is Wednesday or opening night. This is a new thing. I know they had the Tokyo series last year, but that was like a week before the season. It was a really weird thing. They have opening night Wednesday, 8 p.m. on Netflix. Yankees at Giants. I think they blew this one, and it should have been Yankees at Dodgers. Do the championship, do all that, blow it out, go crazy with it. But we open that. We open Wednesday night with that game. And then opening day, not really crazy matchups. Three, I think, are kind of interesting. You have the Tigers at Padres, Rangers at Phillies, and then Diamondbacks at Dodgers. Other than that, nothing too crazy. But, yeah, it's just look, baseball season is back, and it's upon us. And MLB does what they always do and shoot themselves in the foot by not putting the Dodgers, who are the number one team, on opening night.
This opening night thing is weird. Too, because it's a Wednesday. Now I get it. You're not going to win against March Madness on Friday because that's your problem right now. Is because in perfect world you put this on a Friday night.
Yep.
And you know, end of the week you get to watch baseball, and also, I think opening day, you keep tradition where it works. Opening day still works. It still sells out ballparks. It's one of the few White Sox games that gets like over 30,000 people still, right? Like people look forward to that. It's okay if the weather isn't great. You don't need it under the lights immediately. And especially coming off of, I know we don't want to talk too much about the World Baseball Classic. That was fun. It's a reminder that baseball can be a lot of fun. I mean, you had the Italy team dropping espressos after home runs. That's cool, right? You had the celebration. I think it was, which team had the chain going for home runs? I forget off the top of my head. Was it Dominican Republic or was it Puerto Rico?
It was probably Puerto Rico. Dominican Republic had that jacket.
Yeah, but like you had stuff going on like that. It was a reminder that baseball is fun. It's a fun sport, right? So to walk into that after a tournament that reminds us how fun this sport can be like, yeah, we're just gonna throw this on a weekday night, in the midst of a solid, we're getting into the NBA playoffs. That's gonna see something we're gonna start talking about soon, right? You have the MLB, we have March Madness in full effect. You just kind of throw this on a Wednesday. Like, I didn't know about this being on Wednesday night, Caleb, until you told me. And I live in a city right now that the primary sport is baseball, right? In St. Louis with the Cardinals. And the Cardinals aren't going to be this good this year. Not breaking any news there. But, like, when something happens in the MLB, we care because that's the primary team here. And, Blues are probably second. The soccer team's third. If you don't know about things like this or this game's on Netflix, it's going to rate kind of mid. It doesn't matter that you have two big brands. It's just a weird timing in a weird place. I don't care if you could have probably given me Toronto versus LA again. Give me a great 7-game series. You could put that wherever you want. It might get some hits. It's not going to do that crazy because you're hiding it on Netflix. After a sport that's complained and it had fans complain, it's hard to find games. They're putting it on another platform in another place. So it's frustrating because there's a lot of good storylines this year, and I think my baseball heads will back me up on this. This season has a lot riding on it because we really do not know what 2027 is going to look like or what that season looks like with an impending lockout on the way. Unless the deal gets figured out during the season,
that won't happen.
I don't really think that's going to happen. Me and Caleb are on the same page here.
I don't think it's going to happen either.
Thanks, Trevor. There we go. Group unison.
Sorry, my turn. Or go ahead.
No, you're good. I just said,
I'm still a little bit mad at Aaron Judge.
Should be.
I'm mad at a lot of people.
Stinks. At least my team doesn't pay him $300 million.
Yeah,
my team pays no one over 20.
After this World Baseball Classic, I know we don't want to get into it. We were humbled pretty hard there as Americans.
That's what we get for hockey.
Yeah, that's what
we got beaten our own.
We sold our soul. We sold baseball, the soul of America, to win hockey.
Hey, we did beat Canada though in the World Baseball Classic.
We did beat Canada, which means we've just
we lost a team where we took their world leader.
Yeah.
That
was rough.
That was the trade that happened.
That is so. Yeah. Oh yeah. We take your leader and you beat us in baseball.
Yeah, we free your country, and you in return get to beat us in our sport.
I just
thanks for the oil.
All your natural resources, thank you. Please. What a trade that was. That was a bigger picture item, boys.
And then they find out that all their oil refineries are like in the Amazon jungle, and they're like, "Oh, this is a bad trade." Aaron Judge, dude. What are we doing here? World Baseball Classic finals. Dude goes like 0 for 5 or 0 for 4 or something like that. Bryce Harper just hit a freaking moonshot to tie the game.
Well, I told you guys, any other team in the WBC that would have energized them, they would have scored 20 runs and they would have won.
Well, in the whole time, I know we're talking about opening day here, but the whole Classic, the whole WBC, the Americans looked unenthused, like they didn't even want to be there.
Because it doesn't really matter to them. Honestly,
it matters to me, damn it. It's still real to me.
It's the WBC. You had Bryce Harper be like, "Yeah, this is fun, but it's not the Olympics."
Yeah,
like also terrible management. We need to be really smart here.
We needed Jim Leland back in the dugout, smoking heaters, making decisions.
Well,
and I will say, I will not stick up for Mark DeRosa because he was not very good, but he also has his hands tied when it comes to some of these players and teams. Kind of telling him what he can and cannot do with some of these players, and especially the pitchers. So his hands are tied, but I don't care. The Padres told you Mason Miller can pitch an inning. You pitch him in the inning where you're tied.
Why don't we just pay for Shohei Ohtani to get his citizenship in the United States?
They lost too. I don't want them either.
Well, the guy who I thought was missing from that game, and he was notably missing for most of the tournament on purpose, thanks to the Detroit Tigers, was Skubal.
Yeah,
that's Skubal though. I feel like that guy, he quit on his team.
But like, do you want to talk about a thing that can change this? You have he's the ace, right? Outside of Paul Skeens, him and Paul Skeens, you have a 1-2 punch. Yeah, that is
Paul Skeens.
Yeah, it's the same colors as a burnt burger. That's crazy, right? But you have arguably the best 1-2 punch in starting pitchers in the world, and you pitch Skubal in like the middle of this thing. And I think the rule was, which again, this also does hurt the World Baseball Classic. It does frustrate to me that there's team concerns when the White Sox bring out guys for Italy, and then our catcher does a great job and then fucks up his hamstring.
Yeah,
is out for 6 weeks. So on brand. But like, you had Skubal for one game. I think that was the rule from either Skubal, Tigers, or both. You pitched him in like the middle of this thing. If you really know that's a thing, throw them out in the championship. You have to believe you're going to be there. And again, a lot in this graphic too, we're looking at multiple guys there. Bobby Witt, Aaron Judge, right? Schoolboy's there, Paul Skeens, Cal Rowley, all guys that are on that team. You're telling me you're going to get there? But also, America has no fun. They were doing they had what was the guy who was speaking in that locker room?
The guy that killed Bin Laden?
Yeah, they have that while the other teams are throwing parties. It's such a weird in between of we don't really care about this. This is fun. And then
doesn't everybody else on SEAL Team 6 or whatever the team was, don't they hate that guy because he went public with everything?
Probably.
They
Trevor would know that. Yeah.
They do this thing where SEALs are kind of famous for doing cool stuff, and then writing books about it and then profiting off of that.
Be very careful, Trevor. We do not get enough views. I want to see you in a month. I need to be careful, man.
The SEALs are kind of I'm not saying I feel, the books and movies and stuff are great.
Yeah.
I enjoy them very much.
That's all the comments I saw.
The rest of, from what I've seen, the military community kind of looked down on the guys who are like, oh, I killed Osama. Or, I helped Captain Phillips or whatever. So there's a lot of that in the military community. But, yeah, there is a bit of animosity towards the dude for constantly being well, and also there's a bit of a conspiracy that if he did that or not, if he was the guy.
Ooh, so we don't even know if he did it, and we have that guy speaking to our team.
I
will also say the pre pep talk from Aaron Judge before the tournament was the most. I wouldn't want to. If I tried to run through a brick wall, I'd fall right on my face because he was like, "Guys, we're gonna go there and we're gonna win the gold and we're gonna be in America." And it's like, dude, that guy's a cheeseburger.
My problem is you can't tell me, oh, we're just here to have fun. We're here to have a good time. And then you bring in a guy who's supposedly killed Bin Laden, right? You can't. And he's giving, and not only that, he's giving this serious stone pep talk. This is what we did. This is how we defended our country. This is now. You worry about. He's trying to do that type of talk. Yeah. And then you got Bryce Harper yeah, we're just here for a good time. Either embrace it or be for real. Let's either be adults or be kids. Don't be in between. We don't need. They played like teenagers. Where it's I don't really care, but I kind of care.
No, I agree, Jerry, because they also did the thing where they wore the hockey team's jerseys to the last game.
It's but if you're gonna be about it, be about it. And I think that there's also, as much as it's easy to say it after you lose, you don't care, right? It's oh, we're here for fun, this and that, but it's part of what makes this the baseball classic so fun and what makes this so frustrating when we move into MLB opening day is you had so many great vibes. There's so many awesome moments from that tournament from so many good players that are going to be at different places in opening day, right? And I guarantee you when you run us through the AL MVP, NL MVP, there's going to be guys that made plays for their country in the World Baseball Classic. You don't have to treat this like the World Cup. I get it. Every other nation treats the World Cup like it's the biggest thing. And so is America when it comes to soccer. That's fine. But don't tell me you're here to have fun and then do everything else that tells me you're trying to be serious. Right. So I think there needs to be a decision made there because this does impact the sport. The World Baseball Classic does impact the MLB, and its success and failure can translate to a sport that is desiring ratings, wants storylines, and wants to be competing against other sports right now. And again, we don't talk about baseball every week. And sometimes it's the only thing on. We talk about Bill Belichick for a week more than the MLB during the middle of the season. What does that tell you?
It's true.
Yeah. Trevor, as our I team, do you have anything?
I would like to add Rob O'Neill 100% killed Bin Laden. And I'll read you this next thing. O'Neill has faced backlash from some members of the special operations community for going public, which is seen by some as a breach of duty for fame or profit. In 2023, O'Neill sued podcasters for defamation, claiming they falsely asserted he lied about killing Bin Laden. So he did for the sake of our podcast.
Okay, he did.
But there are other podcasts, not ours,
That's right.
that say that he didn't, but not we believe him.
We just use ChatGPT to get pictures of Jeffrey Epstein, folks. We don't spread lies.
Jerry, that show never happened.
That's true. We should have had Stone Cold Steve Austin getting these guys ready.
That's right.
In the locker room.
That would have fit.
Their celebration would have been just grabbing Budweisers and smashing them and just.
Speaking of MLB, Budweiser making a comeback. Have you guys seen the team cans?
Yeah, they
Every
look
team
pretty
gets a special
sweet.
can this year.
Don't get Jonathan going on that. He believes there's
Dude.
no White Sox cans out there.
I hope there's a White Sox can. I think they said all 32 MLB teams,
No,
but
there
knowing
are.
the White Sox, they'll forget it.
I
The White
believe
Sox one's just a picture of an empty stadium. Or a guy we traded already by the time this thing came out.
you have the Japanese guy. I will say though too, St. John's, Kansas is
Oh, it's tied here.
St. John's going to the rack, St. John's. I don't
You're
want
ahead of me, brother.
Jerry doesn't have it, but
Yeah, you're ahead of me, brother.
I for live purposes, St. John's just buzzer beater to beat Kansas. The guard drove
That's
to the
amazing.
hole. St. John's, Rick Pitino moves on to the Sweet 16. I think for the first time since the great year of 1999, arguably the greatest year in human history, based off of some people were born that year.
1999. Yes.
Yeah, we partied
That
like
was
it's
good.
1999.
Yeah. With friends.
Can't relate. I brought in the new century, baby.
But yeah, the kid takes it to the rack, gets it up, and it goes in.
What a finish. That
St.
is
John's
an
wins.
insane finish.
Wow.
That's the madness. We're in the middle of all your podcasts right now, and that's
right.
a great way to end this tournament. That's a 5v4 game with Kansas going down. Thank God. Hate the Jayhawks, but like that's also part of this.
I hate Bill Self as well. That guy is such a crook in my mind. I'm not afraid to say it. I hate that guy.
You and me both, baby.
The fact that he got his second national title, just it as a Michigan State man, it irritates me that guy has two and Izzo only has one.
Well, hey, you have a chance here. They will not meet this year, but one team's dancing, one team's not right now. So
no, that's
take
true.
it wins where you get them.
That's true. But St. John's moves on, beats Kansas. Trevor's Final Four pick is still alive. Johnson says there aren't any Sox cans. I've got all prick Cubs. Oh, that's fine. I love the Cubs. Go Cubs, go. All right, we'll go back here to baseball really quick to end it here, and then we will get off. All right, World Series picks. I have the top 5 odds-wise. Who do you guys think is number 1?
Dodgers.
White Sox, please.
Not even in the top 5. No, the Dodgers are plus 210 odds to win the World Series. Who do you think is second place?
Yankees.
That is correct. Plus 1,000. That is the.
Oh wow.
Yep. That is. That's why I told you guys the odds are very, very skewed.
Yeah.
Who do you think is third?
Toronto.
Nope. It would be
Mariners.
the Mariners at plus 1,200. Who do you think is fourth?
Now do we get to Toronto? I'm going to just keep winning the team that's literally there in Game 7.
Not Toronto.
I hate it. It's going to be the Cubs. I'm going to be so mad.
Nope, it's not. It would be the New York Mets at plus 1,300.
Oh, wow.
That's terrible. That's a terrible bet.
And then there's 3 teams
Tied
for 5th.
This feels Tigers.
Nope.
No. Is this now? If it's not Toronto now, it's ever going to be.
Yep,
So
Toronto is one of the 3 teams.
Rangers.
No.
Nope.
Cubs should be here as well.
Nope.
Cubs have the roster. Wow, are they 7th or they're like 8th?
Yeah, Cubs are later on. Yeah.
That's just kind of impressive. Royals aren't going to do it. No one from the AL Central's there.
Both of these teams have a guy who had moments in the final game of the WBC. One was very good and one was poor.
Oh, what? Suarez had their moment, and where is Suarez now? Oh, my Lanta.
Wasn't he for the
Phillies?
Mariners?
Phillies are one of them, yes.
Phillies
Bryce
is Harper.
of course, had the moment. And then the other one is a pitcher who did not have a great moment in the WBC.
Why am I losing this?
Was it that cheeseburger?
No, Paul Skeens is fine. Now I have to look up the WBC pictures. That's disgusting. I hate you.
Yeah, this team is a historic team. Their major rival is on the list, and that would be the Boston Red Sox. And
That's
the
what I was
pitcher
gonna say.
was Garrett Whitlock.
Yeah. Golly.
So, yeah,
Jesus Christ. Roman Anthony played well.
Yeah, he did play well. His sister, super hot. It's a
Got
fact.
that going for you.
I will say, I can't say it on screen. I'll tell you guys after a video I saw. So you have the Dodgers at plus 210, and then the Yankees at plus 1,000, Mariners at plus 1,200, Mets at plus 1,300, Phillies, Red Sox, and Blue Jays all tied at plus 1,600 to win the World Series. I'll get the Cy Youngs out of the way. Who do you believe is the favorites there? I just have the favorites. AL and NL.
Scooble, Skeens.
Scooball, Skeens. They're both the favorites at plus 240. very heavy favorites. All right, moving on to the AL MVP. Who do you think is
Judge.
first? It would be Mr. Aaron Judge at plus 185. Who do you think's second?
Ooh, that gets nasty really quick. Cal Raleigh?
No, he is third on the list at plus 700.
Ew.
Yes.
Ugh, I hate this already.
If you said Bobby Witt Jr.
Really?
50, you would be correct.
I like that.
Okay, he didn't have a big hit in the WBC, but his fielding was electric.
Problem is the Royals suck.
Yeah, they're terrible. But if he has a good year, you never know. Who do you think is fourth?
AL? Oh.
Yep.
Oh. Cunha's NL, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think down that line there. Roman Anthony's not going to be there. He's really good. Bryce Harper's NL. Golly, you're making me think here. You can tell how much baseball I care about because my team won 40 games 2 years ago.
Rodriguez. Plus 1,200. And then the last guy on the list who's tied for fifth was a rookie last year.
Is that Roman?
Nope, that would be Nick.
Nick Kurtz?
Yeah.
The A's are a fun.
Jerry, have a pause when you say that next time, please, and thank you.
Dude, he's fun.
So he is one spot ahead of Vlad Jr. That was that's like the longest running joke from like MLB The Show from last year to this year, because he would, like, when you played like online, like 3v3, they'd give you like extra players, and he was like a gold you got, and that was always the joke when everybody said his name. You just got to have a pause, so it's Nick Kurtz.
No, you mean like is it Steve Kerr's son, Nick?
Yeah.
Kerr?
Yep. Thank you for that pause.
Oh my God!
Started, Jerry. If you do not know, the majority of people that live in our town,
so
community.
I've learned the ins and outs of the lovely town of Cassopolis.
Yep, the village. So I would appreciate it next time if you had a pause.
Dude, if you want to get down those technical terms, that's bad. That's terrible.
But yeah, so he is actually ahead of Vladdy, who was a surprise to me. All right, on to the NL. Who do you believe is the favorite?
Shohei Ohtani.
Yes, minus 140.
Oh my gosh.
I don't care about the rest because it's going to be the Dodgers winning this anyways.
The second is Juan Soto. Plus 700.
Bryce Harper will sneak in there somewhere.
Nope. Ronald Acuna is third at plus 1,100. Fernando Tatis Jr. is plus 1,900. And Francisco Lindor is plus 2,200. That rounds out your top five.
Lindor is in the top five.
Yes, he is.
So you're telling me, I don't even want to think about that. That is nasty. Some of these rosters are so disgusting. But I look at baseball the lens of, like, I don't care about who's good because they're going to be fine. We're going to have we won't talk about this a lot, right? But like teams who spend are usually pejoratively good. Teams who don't spend are bad. So I like looking at the middle tier and see who can move. I do think the Athletics can do that. That's a team I'm actually very high on.
Yeah, they also have Jacob Wilson as well.
With Wilson, Kurtz, first name to be discussed later. But they're a young core that's built up really well. That I think could take a little bit of a leap here. Boston's one I'm keeping an eye on again because they were not that good last year, or like solid, but they could be really good. They have the pitching staff to do it. And then the team, I hate to admit it, the Cubs scare me as a White Sox fan. They have a lot of good pieces. Bregman was a huge get at third base. That was the key missing piece.
It's going to be the pitching. What it's going to be.
That's another question is going to be, what's the pitching look like there? And I do think that the NL Central this year is more up for grabs because unless Milwaukee just keeps Milwaukeeing, which they can to some degree, but they keep giving away everybody because they don't want to pay nobody. I don't know how much longer that exists. But this season, it's always fun because it's a reminder that spring is here. I mean, before you know, we're going to talk about the Masters again. You've seen those commercials on CBS. Trust me, I know. Baseball's back, which means you get to go to a game, here and there, like how we got Busch Stadium here and there, parts of the season. A perfect encapsulation of this year for me personally. The White Sox and Cardinals are playing in St. Louis. Does anyone want to guess the first game's date of when these two teams will meet?
Mid-July.
It's even worse. Trevor, any guesses?
9/11.
Correct.
Yeah.
The first game of the Cardinals White Sox is on 9/11 at Busch Stadium.
Wow. Hey, at least you
Don't
get it
say
at
we
home.
forgot.
You should get it at home. Yeah, I mean it's fun. We have the newly renovated South Bend Cubs Stadium down here, Jerry. Of course,
I haven't seen it yet. Wait, what have they done to Four Winds now? They add
They
like stands.
Jerry, it's actually wild what they've done. They added another deck onto the infield seating, like another tier. Yeah, they've added on a lot of stuff. I think that they're trying to make South Bend to be the AAA team eventually.
Shorter drive than Iowa.
Yes, I think that's their goal. And the owner of the South Bend Cubs is a very, very rich man.
I'm just telling you, the South Bend Bears and the South Bend Cubs. You're welcome.
Yes.
Hey, we already have Notre Dame football. I mean, we'd be dominant. I mean, it's
Just telling you.
It's a thriving city. It's an up and
Why do
coming
Hammond
city.
when you could just do South Bend?
I don't. Why wouldn't you? Jonathan asked, "Are we not talking flag football?" No, I refuse.
Tom Brady was still whipping it.
Well, Tom Brady. I mean, that's not even a question. I could have told you guys that from my bed. That he's still the greatest quarterback in the league, no question. No, the fact that all I hear about is how these NFL guys think that they're going to make the Olympic flag football team, and then both teams that played the U.S. team got destroyed. It's like you can play actual football, they play flag football, let them play.
Yeah.
I honestly don't care.
And it's also, why are you going to do that while March Madness is going on? Like, give me that flavor in like April or May. I don't need, whatever that was that they tried to do. And like Tom Brady may or may not be trying to get into WWE now. Like,
Tom Brady's just doing things because he has money, and that's fine. We can be all adults here. It's okay if he wants to do things because he has so much money and he just wants to have fun and be goofy. Like he still, that man would kill to go back in an NFL locker room right now. He's that type of crazy. If Tom Brady could play until he's 55, he would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he ruined his family for football. So,
he just ruined his body next. I don't know what stopped him at this point. I really don't. But yeah, he can still throw football. No one cares about flag football. They don't even care. No one cares about the UFL. How many made me care about flag football when you get basically minor league football and nobody watches it?
It's another thing that Fox is trying to push. I mean, shocker. Fox and Fanatics, one thing that people hate Fanatics, and they are still out there. So until they get a jersey right, I don't want to hear it.
There's only one city that cares about the UFL. Can I interest you in coming to St. Louis, Missouri to go to the Dome for the Battlehawks, baby? Wow. They still sell really well, like 30,000 people well.
It's football. I mean, people love football there.
But like no one else cares.
No.
Nobody gives a damn.
So we have next week will be Sweet 16 Elite 8. We will be breaking all of that down. It happens so quickly that it runs away from us, but it's fun. When we're in the moment of it, like Jerry alluded to, the Masters are April 12th is Sunday. Mm-hmm. We of course will be doing a draft for that again.
Yes.
That was, a classic. We'll be doing a draft for that. But yeah, I mean, look, it's baseball. The weather, I think it's just having all these sports just means the weather is getting nicer. Is like the number one. Like I was outside today for 45 minutes picking up sticks. I mean,
we hit 90 degrees out here, I think.
Yeah, wow. I know in Arizona it's already been 100.
And we're gonna get 50 tomorrow. By the way,
it's gonna be 40 here. It's up and down bipolarness. That's what we do. It's just the Midwest. But we will be back next week. And as always, thanks for watching.
Peace.